For mixed modal pain, we have to ask the question still, why mixed modal, and then talk about some of the prerequisites before we get into some of the prescriptions, which are fairly easy to put in place. But we have to back up and say, why are we going to do it? It's the same concept. You're just trying to do mixed modal work faster now. So the reason why we're doing mixed modal training and including the ear runner is to get good at mixing a whole lot of things together for a specific piece of work. Same thing inside of pain. It has to have the prerequisite of practicing mixed modal sustained work prior to this, and you have to be strong enough to be able to do it, and you have to have gone through ear runner sustain, pain, and gain by itself. So there's lots of prerequisites now prior to you getting into this, with the whole reason of you just trying to get good at the ear runner, being inside of mixed modal work to get the best dose effect. Okay? If you were to compare dose effect of 60 seconds on an ear runner versus combining a bunch of things, weights, gymnastics, and then the ear runner in our classic terminology of WGM, then it's quite possible that you're going to get a better and longer and higher dose effect of only doing the treadmill by itself and only doing the ear runner. But we do variations inside of that 60-second time frame, power clean, burpee, and ear runner up to 60 seconds for that purpose of just doing it to practice mixed modal training, okay? And there's a lot of other things outside of that that could be positive in the characteristics you gain from doing mixed modal training or mixed modal pain training, but you just want to remember you're just trying to get good at a whole bunch of things at one time, now at a faster rate, which is why it's called pain. Recapping, you still have to have all those prerequisites, but now it's not only being strong enough, it's sustain, pain, and gain, and mixed modal sustain activities. And doing practice, a lot of that will allow you to practice pain should you wish to do so. We also have to remember there's a time cap, which I'll get into on progression, but before we get into the practice of it, you'll see that this can only last for a period of time. You want to get really good at this dose effect for these particular exercises and put a lot of effort into each one, and you will get great metabolic effects from that. But it is a short half-life, relatively in relation to mixed modal sustain and other forms of ear runner sustain and pain activities, okay? And the reason for that is because of the effect when you put these things together. It obviously adds up to a really challenging dose response. We have tested multiple, I would say thousands and thousands of iterations of different forms of resistance and gymnastics followed up by a cyclical activity, and we've landed on this being the best dose response effectively inside of the mixed modal setting for 60 seconds. We've tried, as an example, different kettlebell activities, followed by hanging gymnastics activities, followed by different forms of cyclical work. We've done absolute strength activities, followed by strict gymnastics, followed by different forms of cyclical work. And nothing, if you even remember on the Air Bite course, we talked about this, nothing comes as close to the best dose response than by doing power cleans, followed by burpees, followed by sprinting. Nothing. Therefore, we're getting as close as possible to the best possible style of mixed modal pain training because we have the ear runner available, okay? You need to do your power clean and burpees right behind the treadmill if possible, because you need to be able to do the power clean right into the burpees over the barbell and then get on that back and then go as fast as possible for 60 seconds. And then you're going to score it as the distance that you've traveled in the 60-second time cap. So think about this. You have a 60-second cap to do all these three things, right? So it gives you this intention of doing the power cleans, touch and go, barbell cycling as fast as possible, burpees over the barbell 6 times as fast as possible, and then you get on the air runner, and you should have, for some people it could be 40 seconds left, for some people it could be 25 seconds left. You're going to go as fast as possible to finish that 60 seconds. And the total distance that you cover when the clock goes beep for the 60-second time frame, that is your score, okay? You still have to have repeatable activities of it, but that is your score, so you can see if you're repeating the same work of that same distance run on there each time, Okay? So again, I'll repeat, you could have different forms of weightlifting activity and different forms of gymnastics activity, but these are the best ones which will give you the best dose response. And remember, we're going after the metabolic effect when we do pain. We're not trying to get really good at the pace of barbell cycling or the gymnastics in this set. We're not looking to do that because it's not reflective of a competitive atmosphere, and really you're going to lower your dose response by changing it up. So just stick to what we have here on the whiteboard based upon that. You are going to rest a longer period of time, longer in relation to what you may have seen with pain only on the ear runner. Reason being is that the contractions that are inside of here are a little bit more challenging. They're not increasing the overall dose effect, as I mentioned earlier, but the contractions require a little bit more recovery period. So you're essentially doing now in time 1 minute of work, 8 minutes of rest, times at least 2. So you're going to do 2 pieces in each session just to ensure you're getting repeatable work each time. Okay? The load should be the same here. If it's not obvious to you, I'm sorry, I'll back up on that. If you're going to be doing power clean times 5 and barbell cycling, I've already told you the prerequisites to get here, so you should assume that you can't just jump into this. You need to be absolutely strong enough. You need to have many, many years of experience of resistance training, and you need to actually be able to do a percentage of your 1 RM of power clean for this times 5 before you get here. So if anything I just said there, you're like, I'm not even sure if I can do that, you probably shouldn't be doing mixed modal pain training with the ear runner involved. It's because you won't actually get the dose effect of it, okay? And you're essentially just doing other forms of mixed modal. I would ask you to go back and practice a whole ton of mixed modal sustained training and not even touch this. So you got to be absolutely strong enough to produce this power here, which is generally, I'll give you some rule of thumb, this is like 50 to 65% of a 1 RM is what people would be using here as an example. For those who do know that, then you'll see what the challenge is like when you do it. Burpees over the barbell, I'm not too concerned about the technique on it. I just want your chest to deck and then getting over the bar. The whole idea here is for you to move your body weight for a specific distance so your heart goes this really high trajectory, and that just adds to dose response. And then for the ear runner, of course, keep it close so you get on there and go as fast as possible. It's 2 to 5. I'm going to cap it at 5 sets because that's just empirically what we have seen to be really effective. When it goes beyond that period of time, just think about this too. This is 1 minute on, 8 minutes off. That's 9 minutes. So if you do 5 sets, that's 45 minutes total for the work. So just think about that in terms of function and fitting it into your lifestyle. If you do far more sets than that, that's okay. Even if they're repeatable, that's okay. It's just that we find we get a diminishing returns after 5 or 6 or 7 sets for most people. Effort is called 90% now. Mixed modal sustain was 80%. This is 90%, meaning that you're going to be just below a maximum of what it'd be like for 1 minute. It's not 97% as we saw within gain, which is just below that maximum for 10 seconds. You're pulling back a little bit here, and you'll recognize what that's like when you get on the ear runner. When you get on for 5 seconds and you think of going guns a-blazing, and then you'll see you have 30 seconds left, you will self-pace and self-regulate to ensure you get the right amount of work done for that 60 seconds. There is some caps on how much you should do this. I'm going to recommend 2 times a week, maximum for 3 weeks. Why? It's based upon what I talked about, that acute dose response, possible loss in proprioception, possible loss in the other areas of sustain and gain. We want to make sure that we get in, get this done, get the effects of mixed modal pain, and then get out and just benefit from what we did on it. But if you keep doing this for longer periods of time, it will lead to overreaching, possibly injury, not definitely, but possibly injury, and then you just don't want to have that loss of progression that was happening in your training. The way you progress it, you can add load each training session, not each set. Each training session you can slightly add load, right? That'll be a progressive overload with the same total score even of what you run in that time cap. You can add more sets per session, right? Do 2 on Tuesday, do 3 on Friday, do 2 next Tuesday, do 4 next Friday, do 2 the following Tuesday, do 5 the following Friday. That's all progressively overload with the same work inside even and the same score per set for running, but you've actually added progression only through the amount of sets that you did. It's option for you. Or you can do the same amount of sets every time. So let's just say you do 3 sets every workout, right? 3 sets Tuesday, 3 sets Friday. 3 sets Tuesday, 3 sets Friday, 3 sets Tuesday, 3 sets Friday. That's 3 weeks. Then you can make sure that each time you do the workout on the Tuesday and Friday, following each one of those, your speed inside of the air runner in the cap is faster. Load didn't change. Your speed on the burpees didn't change. You're just trying to go faster on the ear runner each time. So you still have repeatable work. One set was this score that you ran in distance, right? Say it was 220 meters. The next score was 220 meters. The next workout on Friday, you may want to try to go 235 meters. See that? So you've increased speed on the ear runner as your progression, but nothing else changed. And that's how you can progress it over a period of time. So mixed modal pain, why we're doing that? We're really just doing it to get a dose effect of pain and to learn about how to combine all these different things, weightlifting, gymnastics, and monostructural work in one setting. But now we're going to do it at a faster pace. In order to get there, there are massive prerequisites. You got to be strong enough, you got to be able to do sustained pain and gain only on the ear runner, and you had to have had practice of mixed modal sustain activities. If you have done all that, most likely you have comprehension and knowledge of how to do power cleans and fast burpees, which will allow you to get a great dose effect of OPEX pain. It's a 90% effort. There is a cap on the amount of work that you can do for it, and then you'll see some definite benefits of doing pain training through this method of mixed modal with the ear runner.